Unit 4, classify model functions. Today we're going to do section 410, review, practice analyzing piecewise functions using the Desmos graphing utility and TI Spire calculator. Here we have the book, and here we have the graphing utility. Here are the previous versions of the video that we're making now. So here's the story that we need to look at, and we go down and we highlight the text. Our learning objective is to apply what we previously learned in the types of functions attributes and review the strictly understanding of functions like linear, absolute, and piecewise. We'll take the real-life situation and appropriately express them as a function and provide a graphical representation. That's our job. Here's a story about Sarah's travels. Okay, I'm going to highlight this, Control C, and later we're going to do these other pieces on a piece of graph paper, electronic, on our Desmos, which is here. And I would recommend that you sign in. I'm already signed in. I'm going to title this Sarah's Travels, version 7. Save. And here I'm going to add a folder, which I'm going to title Sarah's Travels. So, piecewise function. P-I-E-C-E-wise function. I guess it doesn't like the word piecewise. I'm going to hyphenate it then. Piecewise function. And go back up here, and you got to press enter so that this little line will be there. And then Control V to put the note. Again, you have to be inside this to press enter so the little line continues and you're in the folder. You can close it, you can open it, and you're still in here. Okay. So the first part of the function of S of x equals, if you read the story, let's read it. Sarah traveled from point A to point B last Saturday. She drove a steady speed, reaching point X, 20 miles in 20 minutes. She stopped. Wait a minute. I'm going to stop right there and think. Okay. She did 20 miles in 20 minutes. I look at my graph. I see nothing. So I'm going to go to the settings, and I'm going to add a label for X. Time in minutes. And my Y is going to be miles, or distance, I should say, in miles. So let me capitalize time. And that is that. So it's time in miles. So I can make it a little bigger for you to see if that's better. Okay. Or maybe a little less. Okay. So now, since this is the first part, I'm going to call this S1 of X. And she went 20 miles in 20 minutes. So that's my slope. Okay? And she went through 0, 0. So I don't have to add anything. But I do have to restrict this, because that's curly bracket, by the way. So shift bracket gives you curly bracket. Or you can click on it here, and the brackets are right here. And you can put brackets. But I'm going to undo that since I already did mine. And I'm going to do 0 less than or equal to X less than 20. Because she did that for 20 minutes. Enter. And click here and zoom out and scoot it over. So you can see that for the first 20 minutes, she drove 20. In 20 minutes, she went 20 miles. The reason I didn't put equals here is because I decided to put the equals on the left. This is what you do in piece functions. S2 of X equals. I have to read the next part. Next part says, she stopped for lunch at some pizza place that I can't pronounce. Where does it say? Who would like to read this?
She stopped at Little Private Pizza for lunch for 20 minutes.
Okay, so what does that mean? I don't want to resume. I want to write this piece down. So What was the slope? Well, 0. She didn't go anywhere. Times x plus 20. Okay, that's kind of silly. I'm just going to put 20. And then I'm going to put my brackets and say that that was from minute 20 less than or equal to x less than, what's 20 plus 20? So I could put 20 plus 20, but I'm going to dare say I can add those numbers together. Press enter, and I've got my two pieces. Okay, I'm going to go for the third piece. S3. And the third piece says, what does the third piece say? She resumed her journey. Where does it say that?
She resumed her journey after lunch and reached point X 20 miles in 20 minutes.
She resumed her journey at lunch and reached point Y 60 miles farther along 50 minutes later. So her rise is 60 miles and her run is 50 minutes later, 60 over 50. So I'm going to interpret that as 60 over 50. So that would be 60 divided by 50. X minus, at what minute did I start this? What was the last minute I was talking about? 40. So that's 40. Plus, at what mile was she at? 20. She hasn't moved. So I have to make it go to that point, 40, 20, and I did. But for how long is she doing this? Okay? For how long is she doing this? Well, it's from minute 40, because you notice 0 to 20, 20 to 40. It's from minute 40. And now I have to do less than or equal to x, less than, and I need to go, how many minutes? It's 60 miles in 50 minutes. So what's 40 plus 50?
90.
So I'm going to chance it and put 90. So this is what I have so far. Okay? And I'm going to zoom out so I can see what I have so far. Now, I'm going to change this all to green so that the pieces look the same, because green was my first color. Okay. Now, at this point, what happened? No, I turned it off. Okay. At this point, I would like to add points to my graph. So I'm going to do open parentheses. I started at 0, 0. And then I put a comma, and then open parentheses, right? And then it was in 20 minutes, she went 20 miles. That's my next point. I would like to change these to green. I would love to leave it for Christmas colors like that, but I'm going to put them green. So I'm going to put a label on these things so I can see them. And again, I'm going to press comma, open parentheses. Then she stayed there for till minute 40 and 20. So close it, comma. Then the next point is where? I got to read. So the next point was 40, 90, right? So 40, 90. No, it's not. It was 40 plus, she went 40. No, she had to do 60, 50. So not 40, 90. It was 40 plus how many minutes? How many minutes did she go? Let's read that. 60, 50 means what?
90.
What does 60, 50 mean? 60 miles in 50 minutes. So our next point is 50 minutes later, comma, and miles from 20, it's 60 miles. So that's my new point, 90, 80. And so I thank the machine, thanks machine, 90, 80 adding for me, and I can replace this with 90, 80. And there's the point. Okay, so I'm good so far. Now, okay, so what we're going to do now is press save, because you never know when the internet will go out. Now, this points, I'm going to move it up, because I got to read what it says here. Where were we? Last I heard, Sarah had traveled 60 miles in 50 minutes. She's speeding, because 60 miles in 60 minutes is 60 miles per hour. So she's going 60 miles in 50 minutes. She's going a little fast. unless it's a highway that has that, which is okay. Either way, I'm not here to judge. She resumed her journey after lunch. He said that already. But then she hit Highway Z. The traffic on Highway Z was a nightmare. Who cares? All I want to know is how long it took and how far did she went. There you go. It took her 30 minutes to go 10 miles. Half hour to go 10 miles. So is it rise or run? What part am I on? S4, open parentheses X, equals, how far? She went 10 miles in 30 minutes. What minute was I on? X minus 40. Because that's the minute I was on. I got to translate this over. Was it 40? No, it was not. The last minute was 90. Look at the graph and you'll see that I'm not quite where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be at 90. So I got to shift it over 90 to the right. There. You see that this is 90, but it's not quite as high as it should be. What do I add out here? 80 to move it up. And there it is. Now we have to restrict it. Let's restrict it. It's got to be from minute 80, and it's got to be less than or equal to X less than. How many minutes did this take?
10.
No, it was 10 miles in 30 minutes. What's 80 plus 30? I don't know. 80 plus 30. Something's wrong.
Can we just put 110? Oh, wait, something is wrong.
What happened there? I was so happy. Okay. So, 90? Okay, so my 80's wrong. Oh, because it's 90. Silly person. 90 to how many minutes after 90? 30 minutes. So 90 plus 30. There you go. So what is that?
120.
120. That makes sense. Now, going down to my points. Where are they? So this point is 120, 90. Right? How do I write that? Right over here. Comma, 120, 90. Okay. Gotta think. Now what? The traffic finally cleared up and she drove 10 miles in 10 minutes. That's great. Draw the graph. Been doing that. So we got to add 10 miles to our point here. Oops, undo. Accidental eraser. Stretch it out here. We got to go here and to the 120, we're going to add 10 minutes. And to the 90, I'm going to add 10 minutes. Okay, that looks good. Okay. So what is that? That's 130 and 100. So how far did she travel? She traveled 100 miles. No, 130 miles in how many minutes?
In 100 minutes.
In 100 minutes.
So an hour and 40 minutes.
So we got to go back over here and write the last part down. S5 of X equals. What was her slope? 10 divided by 10. 10 miles in 10 minutes. X minus, what minute should I be at? 120. But I have to be up at mile 90. She's at mile 90, but she only did that for the next 10 minutes, which was from minute 120, less than or equal to X, less than or equal to 130. And that completes the graph. Now, this one is red. I'm going to make it, just because it slowed down. Oh yeah, just like on my Google Maps, it's red because it's congested traffic. But now I'm just going to put all green. There it is.
Google Maps does that. It shows you traffic.
All right, so there we are. That's the first graph. That's 50%. Let's press save. I'm going to take a breather. And where's the pause here? Here's the next part that says, folks, Sarah begins her trips 15 minutes late. Let's copy that. And let's go to Sarah's Travels. And I'm going to close my folder. Closing this folder.
Okay.
And then we're going to add a folder. And I'm going to add the title that I just copied. And I'm going to press enter. And I'm going to say, okay. So she's late. C1 of X equals S1 of X. But if she's late, is that Sarah of X or is X the time? Which variable is the time? S of X or X? Which is the time? X is the time. I want to make her late by adding 15 minutes to her time. So I have to subtract 15 minutes to the X. And that, you'll see, moves this piece to the right 15 minutes. Now, similarly, go here, press enter. That's C2 of X equals S2 X minus 15. Enter. C3 of X equals S3 of X minus 15. Enter. C4 of X equals S4 of X minus 15. C5 of X equals S5 X minus 15. And you'll see that the whole thing is now in the folder, and you can see that she now went, how far did she go? Wait a minute, how come it's undefined? That means there's a mistake in my Sarah's Travels. I forgot to close the last inequality, which is right here. This should be equal, so put equal there, and that should be good. And then we're gonna go over here, close it up again, and check. How far did she go? She went on this trip 140, it took her 100 miles, she went 100 miles in 145 minutes because she started late. So right here, this is S of X, or I mean, C of X equals S of X minus 15 for each part. That's the English. Here is this. We're going to pause it a moment so you can take a look. So here is Sarah begins her trip 15 minutes later. C of X of I for each part I. That's one way to say it. So I can close this, and then now here I can add a folder. And
CI?
I'm going to save it just in case. Then go here, and I'm going to go to the part where she takes twice as long. Copy that. And put it here and say part. Oops, that's not what I want. Go back here. I said Control C that. Come back here. Control A, Control V. That's what I meant to say. So, Sarah takes twice as long because she's looking at the blue bonnets. How do I write that? So D of X, she's going to go twice as long. D of X equals, how do I make it take twice as long? Is that the X? Do I put the 2 on the outside or the inside? Which one is time? X or Y? X, so it goes on the inside. And I don't put 2, I put a half. So I'm going to put Sarah half of X. Like that. So that's the pattern. So the first double part, D1 of X, make her take twice as long as S1 of half X. D2 of X equals S2 of half X. D3 of X equals S3 half X. D4 of half X. Whoops. Is 4 of half X. D5 is of X equals S5 half X. And I'm going to change colors to
Purple.
purple. I don't know. Purple? What purple? What? All right.
White. This
Well,
one.
I'm gonna do blue.
Oh, yeah. Which blue exactly? Well, what happened to you? Are you sure?
No, but you got
Oh.
Okay. So how long did it take this time? It took 260 minutes to go 100 miles because I'm allowing X's that are twice as big to go in there and halving them and graphing the same height. So I can close this one up now and could leave it there for a moment and take a moment to think about it. Okay, so closing that folder,
What back is your junior?
we are now going to add another folder and do the next part, which says Sarah starts 30 minutes earlier but drives twice as far. No, wait a minute. Sarah goes half as far on the trip but takes the same time. If she takes the same time, do I mess with the X? If she takes the same time, do I mess with the X? She's going to go half. So I'm going to do h of x equals half her distance, which is 1/2 times s of x for all parts of s. For all parts. Okay? And so the first part, h1 of x, take half of that part. And this one I'm going to make purple. Or orange, I don't know. Yeah, okay, purple maybe. h2 of x equals half of s2 of x. h3 of x equals half of s3 of x. h4 of x equals half s4 of x. Finally, h5 of x equals half s5 of x. And you'll see the purple one is half. Purple or orange? Let's see, what do I like better? Orange? Black? Maybe black. Si quieres. Okay.
Oh. ¿Quieres cambiar el color? Hold it. You hold on it. You click on it and hold it. And the color will come up.
Okay, so I switched that one to half. I think black is better looking. It's easier to see. At this time, she took 130 minutes, but only went 50 miles because I halved her distance. And now I can close that. That's done. And we can add the last folder and do this. Sarah starts out 30 minutes later, but twice as far. I'm going to copy that and paste it. And I should leave this for you, actually, for as an exercise, so I have something to grade. But I can do it for you, too. Class, what would I do? 30 minutes earlier affects X or Y? X. So f of X, and what does mean twice as far? Times 2 of what? Of the thing. So I'm going to add 30 minutes to X and then double it. And that will take care of that. Like that. For each part.
And how long do we go to? 6, right? Like S6?
No, 5 parts. So F1 of X is equal to twice S1 of X plus 30. And you'll see that now if I move this over a little bit, or move this in a little bit, you can see that this segment, the first part of the trip, she's 10 minutes ahead of herself there. F2 of X equals 2 times S2 of X plus 30. F3 of X equals 2 times S3 of X plus 30. F4 of X equals 2 times S4 of X plus 30. F5 of X is equal to excuse me, is equal to 2 times S5 x plus 30. And I've got the whole thing. Zoom in, zoom out until you get a nice picture. Where do I want this? Alright, well, I guess that's okay. So do like this or do like this. I think I will do this. And then make this part bigger. Okay, so this part of the thing is done. I just got to decide where I want. And let's review. So this strip, which is all these different colors, this strip went 200 miles in 100 minutes because she started 30 minutes earlier. Right. So it's really, it took her 130 minutes. It's just that she finished at minute 100 as opposed to minute 130. So that's that. Do we want to have it the same color? Maybe, maybe not. Yes? Orange then?
Yes.
Okay. Should we do the decimal, the other part in this same video or make a separate video? Let's make sure that we save it and screenshot this. There. And stop the video. Thank you.